Hey everybody, I'm in Selma, Alabama, home to one of the darkest days in civil rights history. Straddling the Alabama River, Selma resides in Alabama's rich soil area known as the Black Belt. Historically, the town grew wealthy from its cotton production and location as a trading center along the river. Yet, with cotton came slavery, and even after the Civil War was long over, racial injustice was commonplace. By the civil rights era of the 1960s, Jim Crow segregation laws were strictly enforced, even though half the town's population was African American. Black residents were forbidden from serving on juries, and due to the restrictive voting laws, only about 1% of the African American population was registered to vote. Yet organizations like the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference organized voting drives and demonstrations in an effort to push civil rights to Selma. In 1965, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech at a local church. Yet the more the civil rights protesters pushed, the more violent the opposition became. In an effort to publicize their plight, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and other activist organizations planned a public march as a giant protest. The march would begin in Selma and march 54 miles east to the Alabama state capitol in Montgomery. The governor of the state, George Wallace, ordered state troopers to stop the protesters and to use whatever measures are necessary to prevent it. On Sunday, March 7, 1965, around 600 protesters began their march in Selma. Yet once they crossed the Edmund Pettis Bridge spanning the Alabama River, they encountered a large group of Alabama state troopers and deputized whites, armed with clubs and riot gear. Without provocation, the troopers began firing tear gas at the marchers and began attacking them with their clubs. The images of Bloody Sunday, as it became to be known, shocked the nation. The brutal attack in Selma was a turning point in the civil rights movement. President Lyndon B. Johnson condemned the attack and promised a Voting Rights Act would soon be sent to Congress.
Their cause must be our cause too. Because it's not just Negroes, but really it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
To allow the civil rights organizers to finish their march, President Johnson nationalized the Alabama National Guard. In Selma, Martin Luther King and other civil rights activists joined nearly 8,000 protesters, both black and white, on March 21, 1965, for the March to Montgomery. This time, they crossed the Edmund Pettis Bridge without incident. Later that summer, President Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act into law. Just a year after Bloody Sunday, some 11,000 African Americans had successfully registered to vote in Selma. Today, the Edmund Pettis Bridge is a National Historic Landmark and is part of the Selma to Montgomery National Historic Trail. So come to Selma and learn about one of the turning points in civil rights history. It's one of the best places in Alabama.